A delightful evening to you. Welcome to the world now at 4 on Hills TV. I am Uduak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, Gbajabiamila plans removal of honorable from reps. Still on the headlines, Senegalese lawmakers bag 6-month jail sentence. Also on the headlines, 4 dead in Australia mid-air incident over gold. And on sport, Djokovic receives positive welcome back to Australia. And now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of Osita Anthony Aboloma as Chairman, National Quality Council, that is the NQC. In a statement by the media aide to the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ifedayo Shayo, the appointment, which takes effect from August 3, 2022, is renewable for a second 5-year tenure. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Adeni Adebayo, in a letter informing Aboloma of the new appointment, wrote in part, "I am pleased to inform you that the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, has approved your appointment as the Chairman of the National Quality Council, that is the NQC, for a 5-year tenure with effect from 3rd August 2022, which is renewable for a second and final 5-year tenure." And away from that story, members of the House of Representatives may no longer be addressed as honorables, as the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, has sponsored a bill seeking to change the lawmakers' appellation to representatives. The legislation is titled A Bill for an Act to Amend the Legislative Houses as Powers and Privileges Act 2017. Already, members of the 9th House, including the Speaker, have been using Rep before their names, instead of the Honorable or HON that has been in use for ages. Gbajabiamila is now seeking to legalize the change in the address and designation of a member through the amendment bill. The bill seeks to insert new sections 21 and 22 into the Legislative Houses, that is Powers and Privileges Act, which read 21. A member of the Senate shall be designated and addressed as a senator and shall be entitled to have before his name the word senator during his term in office and for life. The Speaker wrote in the explanatory note, "This bill seeks to define the designation and address before the name of a member of the National Assembly." And now to matters that concern election and electioneering processes in Nigeria, the Independent National Electoral Commission, that is the INEC, knocked those involved in the buying of permanent voter cards and harvesting of voter identification number today. The National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, INEC, Festus Okoye, said their actions would only oppress voters and prevent them from exercising their rights on Election Day. Okoye, who spoke in a television interview, noted that the data of every registered voter was domiciled in the bimodal voters accreditation system and not in the PVCs. Speaking on the recruitment of ad hoc staff for the election, Okoye said the commission will engage 1.4 million ad hoc staff made up of the National Youth Service Corps members, that is the NYSC, and students in tertiary institutions in their final year. You will know that it is next to impossible for INEC to have over 1.4 million staff members on its payroll. The strength staff of the commission is around 16,000, and so when we devolve the collection, we discover that there will be various registration areas. We are going to engage the services of corps members to assist the commission in terms of giving out these PVCs, he said. And now let's have you know that Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State has pardoned 7 inmates serving various terms of imprisonment to mark New Year's celebration. The Attorney General and Justice Commissioner of the state, Charles Titila Loye, in a statement stated that the governor also reduced the period of imprisonment of 11 other inmates. Similarly, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State yesterday ordered the release of 104 inmates in the 5 custodial centers located in the state. In a statement by the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Moyosore Onibanjo San, the governor signed the release order on December 28 based on the recommendation of the Advisory Council on the Prerogative of Mercy. When we return, news from other parts of Africa will be coming your way. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is The World Now at 4 on Hills TV. A court in Senegal sentenced 2 lawmakers on Monday to 6 months in jail for assaulting a pregnant colleague on 1st December during an acrimonious parliamentary session that degenerated into a full-blown brawl. The men Amadou Niang and Massata Samb of the opposition PUR party were also ordered to pay a total of 5 million CFA francs, which is equivalent to $8,200 in compensation to lawmaker Amy Ndiaye Gnibi of the ruling Benno Bokk Yakaar coalition. In a chaotic televised scene that shocked Senegal, Sam slapped Gnibi in the face during a budget debate in the National Assembly after she scoffed at his remarks and criticism of her. Gnibi responded by throwing a chair at Sam and was then pushed to the ground by other lawmakers and kicked in the abdomen by Niang. The brawl worsened political tensions in Senegal that have risen since the ruling party lost its comfortable majority in a July legislative election. The loss was widely seen as a rebuke of President Macky Sall amid uncertainty over whether he will seek a third term in 2024, a move the opposition says would be in breach of terms limit and of an earlier promise. Sall, 60, has refused to state clearly whether he plans to run again. This one is a sad one. At least 9 people, including children, were killed and several others injured in a stampede during a New Year's Eve celebration at a shopping mall in Uganda's capital, Kampala, on Sunday. The crash occurred after fireworks were fired outside the Freedom City shopping mall in the south of the capital, said Luke Oyegisirigiri, a national police spokesman. 5 people were killed instantly and many others injured in the stampede, he said in a statement.
I lost a friend of mine by the name of Margaret Nakatumba because I'd gone with her. Yeah, I found her there. She was enjoying, she was having fun, but due to loss of breath, she lost her breath and eventually she died. It was 30 minutes to midnight. Then MC told us that we should go up and watch fireworks from the parking up. Then as we were going up, they told us, now you have to go.
A witness who lost his friend spoke about the incident. Spokesperson for the police, Patrick Onyango in Kampala, said most of the victims are young people aged 10, 11, 14, and 20 years. These were the first New Year celebration in Uganda in 3 years after restrictions due to COVID-19 pandemic and security concerns. We now move to other parts of the world after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. And to other parts of the world, Ukraine says about 400 Russian soldiers have died in a missile attack on the occupied Donetsk region. The attack hit a building in the city of Makiivka, where Russian forces were thought to be stationed. The figure has not been verified. Pro-Russian authorities acknowledged casualties but did not confirm the figures being reported. Meanwhile, in Kiev, air raids sounded on Sunday night as the latest wave of strikes from Russia continued. Reacting, Daniil Bezovnov, a senior Russian-backed official in the occupied parts of Donetsk, said the missile struck Makiivka 2 minutes after midnight on New Year's Day. Although access to Russian-controlled areas is restricted, a number of Russian commentators and bloggers acknowledged the attack, but suggested the numbers were lower than claimed. And to yet another story, 4 people have died after a mid-air collision between 2 helicopters near SeaWorld on Australia's Gold Coast. Queensland police say initial investigations suggest that a crash happened as one aircraft was taken off and the other was landing. Those who died were traveling in the same helicopter. 3 other passengers are in a critical condition. 5 of the 6 people on the aircraft, which made an emergency landing, suffered minor injuries. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau, that is the ATSB, is investigating the collision, which happened at about 4:00 GMT. The 2 aircrafts came down near a tourist strip known as Main Beach, about 75 kilometers south of Brisbane. Gary Worrell of the Queensland Police Service told reporters the 4 deaths and 3 serious injuries had all occurred in the same aircraft. Images from the crash site show debris strewn around the area and a mangled helicopter apparently lying upside down opposite the SeaWorld resort. In northern Mexico, after gunmen suspected to be members of a drug cartel opened fire on the Chihuahua State Prison shortly after 1400 GMT, 24 inmates escaped, while 10 prison guards were killed, along with 4 prisoners, during the brutal attack in the border city of Ciudad Juarez. Authorities confirmed that the gunmen arrived in armored vehicles and began firing on the guards. Also fighting within the prison were inmates from differing criminal bands and drug cartels. A house led to about 13 injured persons, 4 of which are being treated in hospital. Outside, relatives gathered, hugging each other and crying as they waited for news. One woman said the attackers were dressed in black, who were better armed than the police and were shooting at any vehicles that passed by. The Army and the National Guard have been called in to support local authorities in the aftermath. Meanwhile, before the escape, armed men fired on police on a nearby street, setting off a car chase that ended up with 4 men being detained. And now let's quickly get on to the business desk on The World Now at 4, and this time have you know that oil marketers on Sunday said the federal government should evacuate and dispense the products currently trapped in the depots, which were shut down recently by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, that is the NMDPRA. Marketers said the products should be dispensed at a regulated rate of 148 naira per litre to help address the scarcity of premium motor spirits, that is the PMS, popularly called petrol, in some states, instead of leaving them trapped despite the fuel crisis across the country. On Saturday, the federal government announced that it had shut down the operations of 7 depots in various locations in Nigeria for dispensing petrol at an outrageous price to retail outlets. The chief executive NMDPRA, Farouk Ahmed, who disclosed this to journalists in Abuja, said the action by the affected depots contravened the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, that is the PIA 2021, and also contributed to the recent PMS supply crisis in the downstream oil sector. Reacting to this, the Secretary, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, that is the IPMAN, IPMAN, Abuja Suleja Mohammed Shuaibu, told journalists that the government should go beyond shutting down depots. And now let's bring the news desk on business from the United States. And having you know, the United States Trade Representatives, that is the USTR office, said the United States, that is the U.S., has dropped Burkina Faso from its AGOA AGOA Trade Preference Program, citing deep concerns over unconstitutional change in government in the West African country. Frustrations over the government's inability to curb insurgency spurred 2 military coups in Burkina Faso in 2022. Both the previous and current juntas have made efforts to beef up security, but militant attacks have continued. The junta's Foreign Affairs Ministry reacted to the U.S. decision today by repeating a November statement saying that the timetable for a return to democracy had not changed. Burkina Faso had committed to returning to constitutional rule in 24 months in a July agreement with West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS. The U.S. African Growth and Opportunity Act, that is the AGOA, provides sub-Saharan African nations with a duty-free access to the United States if they meet certain eligibility requirements, such as eliminating barriers to U.S. trade and investment and making progress towards political pluralism. And now let's take a quick break and this time come back with sports on the way. Don't go away.
Good evening to you and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I am Richard Badum. On sport, Paris Saint-Germain has entered the race to sign informed Napoli forward Victor Osimhen next summer. According to reports from France, the 23-year-old Nigerian international has a good chance to return to Ligue 1, with the Parisians the likely destination. Current Paris Saint-Germain coach Christophe Galtier, who signed the striker while he was at Lille, is keen to reunite with the Napoli star, who is currently the leading scorer in the Italian Serie A with 9 goals. The report also revealed Napoli sporting director Cristiano Giuntoli met with a PSG official a few days ago to discuss possible deals for Fabian Ruiz and Keylor Navas, but a move for Osimhen was also talked over. Meanwhile, Osimhen has hinted that his future at the club remains uncertain. So other sporting matters, with 12 days to the start of the 2023 Championship, African nations in Algeria, Côte d'Ivoire has unveiled its squad for the competition. After rounds of qualifiers, 18 countries, including Ivory Coast, picked the qualification ticket for the biennial tournament. The team under coach Pape Thiaw has been in camp in the past few weeks ahead of the competition. The coach finally announces his final list as they set to depart for the North African country this week. Ivory Coast is placed in the top group alongside DR Congo, Senegal, and Uganda. On the world scene, Seb tennis star Novak Djokovic has received a positive welcome back to Australia as he made a rare doubles appearances at the Adelaide International. The Serb was deported prior to the 2022 Australian Open because of his COVID-19 vaccination status. Djokovic's 3-year visa ban was overturned in November, following or allowing him to enter the country. He and Canada's Vasek Pospisil were beaten 4-6, 6-3, 10-5 by Tomislav Brkic and Gonzalo Escobar on their return. The 35-year-old, currently ranked world number 5, stayed behind after the defeat to sign autographs and take photographs with fans. Ace top seed in the singles in Adelaide and will face Frenchman Constant Lestering in the first round on Tuesday as he continues his build-up to the Australian Open, the first major of the season, which starts on 16 January. Djokovic is a 9-time champion in Melbourne and is just one Grand Slam title shy of Rafael Nadal's men's record of 22. Before we leave you, body of Brazilian football legend Pelé has been moved from the hospital where he died to the stadium of his former club Santos. Pelé's wake will be held at Santos Football Club later today, and his coffin will be placed in the center of the pitch for the public to pay respect. The football great died at the age of 82 in Sao Paulo on Thursday. And that's your news, and that's your sport news on World Now at 4. Back to Uduak Daniel for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badum, wishing you a happy new year.
Richard Badum, thank you for that one on sports. And now telling you more stories. Former Pope Benedict body lies in state at the Vatican, where thousands of people gathered to pay their last respects. The doors to St. Peter's Basilica were open to the public on Monday morning as mourners paid their respects to the late pontiff, who died on Saturday at 95. The Pope, who had waited for hours, filed past his body in watchful prayer and appreciation of the life of the late pontiff. Benedict will lie in the open at the center of the famous basilica ahead of his funeral on Thursday morning. Security officials expect 25,000 people to pass on the first viewing day. Pope Benedict shocked the world in 2013 by retiring from the papacy, the first to do so in 600 years, saying he no longer had the physical and mental strength to run the Catholic Church. During his time as Pope, he faced a slew of criticism over the Catholic Church's response to child sex abuse allegations and claims of corruption and feuding within the Vatican. Following his resignation, he lived in the Vatican monastery and served as Pope Emeritus. The current head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, replaced him. Public viewing of the body will last for 10 hours on Monday in St. Peter's Basilica. 12 hours of viewing are scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday before Thursday morning's funeral, which Pope Francis will lead in St. Peter's Square. And that's the World Now at 4. But before we go, a quick look at our top stories. We told you Gbajabiamila Mila plans removal of Honorable from reps. We also told you Senegalese lawmakers bag 6 months jail sentence. We brought to the fore the fact that 4 dead in Australia mid-air incident over Gold Coast. And on sports, Djokovic receives positive welcome back to Australia. Remember to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel, all at Hills TV. I am Uduak Daniel. Thank you for watching.